In this video, I'll take you through the WAUPS competition entry requirements and how to prepare your images using both Lightroom and Photoshop. File naming. The file name shall be in the following format: first name, last name, underscore, competition name, underscore, image name.jpg. For example, Bill Smith, pixels, bigfluefish.jpg. We want your full name, not your initials, not your last name only or your nickname. Only your full name is acceptable. Except for portfolio competition entries, all competition entries shall meet the following requirements: file type JPEG, color space sRGB, file size less than 1.5 megabytes, image resolution 72 pixels per inch, must contain full EXIF data so that the date of capture can be confirmed, and the image size no wider than 1920 pixels and no higher than 1080 pixels. All entries must be able to fit inside a box 1920 pixels wide by 1080 pixels high. Doesn't matter what aspect ratio, they must fit within inside this box. To export an image from Lightroom, you have to get to the export dialog. If you're in the develop module, right click on the image, come down to export, and then go to export again, and you'll appear at the export dialog. If you're in the library module, in grid view, all you have to do is make sure that the image is highlighted, and then come down here and click on export. If you're in loop view in the library, all you have to do is come down and click on export. Now we've got the export dialog up, we can now get our image ready to export. First up, make sure that export to hard drive is selected up here. Now the next thing you want to do is come down to where do you want to export to. I have mine set up so that it goes to a folder on my desktop called WAUPS Competitions. There's lots of different ways you can set this up. I'll leave that up to you to figure out, but all I have is I have a specific folder on the desktop called WAUPS Competitions. Next thing we want to do is we want to make sure we rename the file, and we come down here to edit, and we get a dialog. Delete that file name marker there, and then come in with file naming that we want, which is, in my case, Scudgeon underscore pixels underscore, and just put image title for the moment, and go done. And now we'll see that our custom setting will be coming in at Ross Gudgeon pixels image title JPEG. Next thing we want to do is file settings. We want to make sure it's a JPEG when we export it. Got a few choices here, but make sure you select the JPEG. Got a few color space choices, but we want sRGB. Make sure we've got sRGB. Image quality, I always use 80. You can pick 100, but the file size is going to be a lot bigger. I've found that by using 80, you can't tell just by looking at the images, you can't tell between an 80 and 100 image quality. You can't see anything difference. Just the file size will be smaller at 80, and I've always found that using 80, the files always end up at less than 1.5 megabytes for the WAUPS competitions. Next step, come down to image sizing, select resize to fit, make sure that width and height is selected and don't enlarge is selected. Set the maximum width to 1920, maximum height to 1080, and the resolution to 72 pixels per inch. Then output sharpening, you can set this up whichever way you want. I just have sharpen for screen and standard. We want to include all our metadata, so make sure that all metadata is selected. That's so we can check the date you took the file and make sure it's in the competition period. And then after processing, I just want to show it in Explorer. So we're all set to go. So now we can go export. And there it is in our folder in export. We can see it's a JPEG. Size is less than 1.5 megabytes. Dimensions 1620 by 1080, which is within our rules. If I right click on it, go to properties and details, I can come down here, see it's 72 dots per inch and it's sRGB, so it's a legal entry. Okay. Now, having set up our export folder, if we go back to export now, we can make a preset where this will all be done automatically. So all you have to do is come here to add, and we'll call it WAUPS competitions, and put it in our user presets folder and create. And now you'll see we've got a WAUPS competitions preset. So let's say I'm done, get out of that. We go back to our grid view. If I want to export another picture, so this one here, I now go down to export, select WAUPS competitions, and it'll bring up all the settings that I've already saved. You don't have to think about anything else. The only thing you have to do is your file name, just come up here to edit, and the only thing you want to change here is image title. You might call that image title number 2 in this case. Done. Export. And you'll see it's all in here where I want to save it. So in future you just have to keep on using that preset and it'll be legal every time. One thing to note in the export thing is that there's little boxes here. When you select a preset, don't click the box because you won't be able to edit the image title. Sorry. You won't be able to edit the image title. Just click on the name and you'll be able to edit the image title. These little boxes, if you want to do export, say, to WAUPS competitions and you want to export some versions for email, export some DNGs, you can click all the boxes and it will do all those exports at once. That's what the boxes are for. But just click, in this case, just for WAUPS competition, just select the name, make sure the image, that checkbox isn't checked, and you'll be able to go and title the image. Right, you've got your image open in Photoshop. First thing you want to do is you want to convert it to sRGB. So we come up here to the Edit menu, come down to Convert to Profile, and pick our destination space. I've already got it set here at sRGB. If yours isn't, you've got a big list, you've got to search through to find it. You'll find it up here somewhere. There it is, sRGB. And the other thing you want to do is keep the standard options here, Adobe Ace, relative colorimetric, use black point compensation. The other thing you might want to do is check this tick box here, the flatten image to preserve appearances. You can see that I've got a bunch of layers over here. If I've got that ticked, that will automatically flatten those all into one layer when I convert it to sRGB. Click OK. You can see now, we have a look down over here, we'll see we've got one file, it's in sRGB. The next thing that we want to do is resize it. Come up to image, image size, and I always start from the bottom. We want our resolution at 72 pixels per inch, and I always set the height to 1080, which is our maximum height we're allowed. And then I look at the width, and the width here is 1620, that's fine, it's less than the 1920 maximum. If the width here ends up being wider than 1920 pixels, you want to change this value here to 1920, and then the height will come down. Make sure resample's clicked and that the little link between width and height are the same is clicked, so they maintain the aspect ratio. Click OK, go small, I'll bring it back to, hit Control 0 to bring it back full size, and there we've got our image. Now what we have to do is File, Save a Copy, and we want to save it as a JPEG, and we give it our name, which in my case will be Ross Gudgeon _ pixels _ image title, or whatever you want it to be, and we navigate to where we want. So I come up here to the desktop, to WAUPS competitions, and at this stage you can just check, it says here ICC profile sRGB, so that's okay. Click OK, and I've already done a practice, so I'll just save that. I'll replace it. Now image options quality, Photoshop will let you go up to 12 or maximum, which will give you a really big file size. Recognise that we're not allowed to have a file size bigger than 1.5 megabytes. I always use high value of 8, which I've compared this with lots of images, and you cannot see the difference between the quality in an image high at 8 and a maximum at 12. But when you use 8, there'll always be 1.5 megabytes, less than 1.5 megabytes. Then we go OK, and it's saved. Now the last thing we want to do is we'll close this, but you don't want to save it because you've flattened or you've lost all your layers and you've resized it, so we don't want to save it. Now we'll go over to our image that we've just saved. Desktop. And there's the image I've just saved, Ross Gudgeon pixels image title. It's a JPEG, which we want. The size is less than 1.5 megabytes, and the dimensions are 1620 by 2080, which is within our rules. Right click on that and go pick properties, go to the details tab, and if we come down we'll see it's 72 dots per inch, which is what we want, and it's sRGB, which is what we want, so it's all legal. And so now all we have to do is upload it to the competition website.